Hi there. Why is it that we celebrate fine wine for aging beautifully, but pressure women to fight the very process that deepens their wisdom, clarity, and impact? Welcome to a new episode of the Power Talks for Remarkable Females. My name is Helena Demuynck. I'm your host, and our topic today is the longevity revolution, redefining aging for high impact women. And joining me is Silvia Neira. She's the Vice President of the UN's Global Initiative on Aging and Longevity and a pioneer in bridging natural medicine with timeless leadership. From advising governments to optimizing health span for high performing women, Sylvia equips leaders to treat longevity not as a countdown, but as fuel for reinvention. So, this isn't about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years as a leader. So, welcome, Sylvia. Let's rewrite the story. How are you doing?
Thank you, Helena. Such a lovely introduction, such a calm and beautiful voice. I love it. Thank you. I'm very honored to be
You are
here.
so
I
welcome.
love this conversation. There's so much to talk about. This, I wish we had a whole bunch of women here talking at the same time and sharing knowledge and wisdom. Maybe next time.
Absolutely. And thank you for that remark, Sylvia, because when you're listening in here live, just use the comment box to ask your questions, share your feedback, contribute to the conversation. That would be wonderful. And even if you're listening or looking at this in replay, then just hit the comment box and let us know because we will monitor what is going on there. And so we will get back to you. So, Sylvia, let's get started.
Yes, please. So, how there's so many different topics that I would like to mention, and very important takeaways that I would like for women to take on board. Shall I start, and then you ask me questions about the different things? Shall we do it
Absolutely.
that way?
We have 50 minutes, and our audience are high achieving, purposeful women that are looking for insights and views and inspiration. And I would say encouragement also, because I believe that aging is something that is, again, a myth, or there's a lot of myths around it that impact how we look at it, how we look at our lives, our careers, how we look at change, at transformation. So I think that there's a lot of room for improvement. And hi, Montaha, great to have you here. Welcome.
Yes, it is actually, especially for women, we get the end of the stick, as to say. As we are aging, we get more abuse, negligence, and abandonment in the world, unfortunately. So there's a few things that I would like to talk about, and I want this to set the standard of where we're going. First of all, I would like to talk about something very important, which is about our genes, and this will lead on to something. We thought throughout our history of humankind that our genes, we have endless amount of genes, and that we were a product of our genes. We realized, and this wasn't that long ago, less than 20 years ago, they were doing this depth research about genes, and they realized that we didn't have that many genes. We had around 20,000, which, if
Mm.
that makes any sense, is more or less like a butterfly. Why am I saying this? We are not a product of our genes. We are a product of something that is called, which is epigenetics. And what does that mean is that we are a product of our experience, how we see the world. What we take of that experience is who we are. We manifest. We become that individual. We become our youth traumas, but we become our opportunities and our wishful thinking. If you're really clear with that, we make that our biology. Our brain has a lot more capacity that we give it granted to.
Yeah.
And we don't get taught this. We don't get told that we are a lot more powerful, that our body has a lot more capacity that we think that we have, and that we are a lot more empowered as human beings that we think we are. We give away this often the moment that we're born. We give it away to the doctors. They are in charge of our health. To our parents, they are in charge of our future. We have to follow the stream of life. We have to study to be top and here, but actually the reality of the world has been completely like a moldable Play-Doh that has been changing throughout. And now we are in a very special point in life, which is that we can live to 100, but we
Yeah.
don't understand. We've never been empowered to what does that mean from a quality point of view. And again, women take it a little bit harder because we are mothers, we are caregivers, we have a lot of other responsibilities in the professional world. It's not just the professional world, is it? Every woman here knows if you're working, you have a lot of things that you have to do. And it doesn't mean that you stop doing the other things. You just take one more load. You keep loading and loading and loading. And then things happen. We are not told how to take care of ourselves. We are not told that it doesn't matter what is going on in your life. There are resources that you can look inwards to find those resources, primarily look inwards to find those resources. And we have not been told that we have the power with our mind to change our surrounding, to find resources internally in a very different way. So I wanted to start this way because I think it's very important that we think that we are capable of doing anything that you can think of. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to go to the Ivy League of universities to do that. You are capable of doing anything that you can think of, and you can do it throughout your life. It doesn't have to stop the moment you are a middle-aged woman, or you're going into your 50s, or you're going into your 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s. It doesn't have to stop. Physiologically, the research that we have come across within the demographic shift, which is what I work with day in and day out, is that the scale of our lives should be like this. And only the last year or the last 2 years, it collapses, which is the natural biology saying we need to wrap it up. This is the chapter. And instead, we're not allowing for that to happen. We are declining because the world has not embraced this magnificent shift, which means to live to 100. And how do we adapt to that reality?
Absolutely.
Tell me.
Just if I may say that, because a lot of people are not really familiar with the science of genes and epigenetics. What has worked for me extremely well was one of the books by Joe Dispenza, You Are Your Placebo, You Are the Placebo, where this is really explained in human language. And it is so true that we are a very powerful creatures that can define and redefine our destiny. It's not what our parents have given us through their genes. It is part of it, of course, but there's a lot more to that. And that is one thing that is so important to understand. That we don't have the time right now to go deeper in that. But it's so important to understand. So I would advise everybody to dig a little bit deeper and find out a little bit more about that. And then I so agree with you with how the world is defining us based on our age, how the system is created to keep us in that rigid box that is so age determined. It is about studying very hard, then have your career very hard as a woman, mix that career with your family expansion, if I can call it like that. And then at 60 or 67, or depending what retirement regulations we have in our countries, it's like it's finished. And I feel so frustrated sometimes to see that, because it becomes our mindset. Well, it is just a system. We constantly labeled. And for example, when I was 50, which is 10 years ago, I started receiving emails from an organization for elderly people, which was very interesting. And they just informed me that as of now, I would not be able to go with the flow in terms of technology evolution and new software and new applications and things like that. And I said, what? How can that be? There's so much going on in media and social media in the system to make us believe that as we are turning 50 or 60, that suddenly we are not capable of doing certain things. And that's absolutely not true. So I look at you, Sylvia, to bring us the foundations to go against those systems and those systemic messages that are arriving all the time. Does that make sense? Is that something that
Absolutely. It makes
anybody?
perfect sense. And I tell
Yeah.
you, there's a key thing here, which is neuroplasticity. The science, the neuroscience has evolved. Only like 10 years ago, if you were a neuroscientist, they will come to you and say, why are you doing this? You can diagnose something, you can never cure anything. Why would you be on that industry? I'm telling you, with so many neuroscientists I've talked to, yes, that is absolutely true. Now it's exciting because they realize there's so much more to the brain. We just don't know. There's so much about our biology that we don't know. Just there's so much about the world that we don't know. Just because we don't know it, it doesn't mean it can be true. Things that we can create in this world. There's a lot of stigma about a lot of different science, quantum physics, etc., etc. But I can tell you by my own example. I'll give you my own example. I'll show all my flaws here, which I love to show, and I will tell you. I don't think I'm a particularly high intelligent individual, but I have done everything that I ever dared to dream. I wanted to be a professional dancer. When I was told you have short legs, you're never going to do it, I did it. Then I wanted to go into singing. Okay, I got a record deal. Then I wanted to be closer to my family. I need to go into musicals because if I'm not closer to my family, I have a reliable job, I won't be able to study other things. I was really interested in medicine. And I got that. And I got a lead role on an Indian musical. I'm Spanish. I'm just showing. And then from that, I really wanted to be always a professor and naturopathic medicine. And so I studied that. And I was fascinated by the science. And again, I was never the best in everything, but I never lost curiosity and my purpose. I was focused with whatever I was. I ended up being a professor. I ended up doing anything that I ever dreamed of. It manifested from the lowest to the biggest. And it's not because I'm remarkable, because I'm not. I'm just another normal, average human being that doesn't take a no very well. And I want to learn.
I would say, Sylvia, we are all remarkable. We are all remarkable. It's just that sometimes we just don't know it. And I love your story that you share where you say, I wanted to be a dancer. I did. I wanted to be a singer. I did. I wanted to be a professor. I did. Who can say that? That's just amazing. That is remarkable. It is extraordinary. And yet it is what we all could do if we just put our mind to it.
Precisely. And this is what I'm trying to say. The neuroplasticity never changes. We think that we're capable of doing one thing and we are defined by that. But every woman is how I started. You're used to doing a lot of different things at the same time. You just don't think there is a space for a lot more. And the new longevity narrative is telling us we have to be capable of adapting, of learning new things. Let go of fear is a big one. If we are fearful, we stop living. You have to let go. What is the worst that can happen? That it fails. You stand up and you do another thing, or you try again in a different format. It's like whenever you set up a business, you realize that there's like 75% ratio of failure of the first business that you set up. But the second one is like 75% chance that you will make it. So we learn. And we're here in the world for whatever. It doesn't matter if you're mystic or if you're more practical. We're here to live it in whatever format you want to make the most of it and to experience it. So to not limit ourselves to the stigma that the world is putting on us to make a difference on whatever aspect of your life you want to. So there are some key things that we know the science and the research has told us that they help us with the longevity and aging with quality of life. I'm going to now give a few tips, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Having a community is fundamental. Basically, or having friends, being able to, we're human beings. The beings already tell you we need to be able to connect. We need to be able to belong to something that keeps us engaged. There was a research done in Harvard. It was the longest one for 75 years, actually. A little bit interesting because it was done with Harvard students. So the eco-social might not have been very fair. I didn't read that part, but I'm wondering about it. But no matter what, it did show that the most important thing for quality of life is actually the purpose of a community, having people around you. So a good talk with your friends is more valuable than going to a psychologist sometimes. It is how it is. Well, I'm not taking for granted the purpose of a psychologist, but do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this documentary on Netflix. What is it called? The Blue Zones, where they do this research to all these places where people live very long. And it's exactly what you say. It's the connection, the community, belonging, absolutely extremely important. And we lost that, right? We are in a very individualistic society, right? So how can we boost that? What is it that we can do in order to bring that community back into our lives?
I will base this is a very personal, depending on your culture. It's a culture element. For different cultures will be different.
Yeah.
An Anglo culture will be very different. You might want to go to clubs, or you might want to join a gym club where you get to do things, yoga classes, and meet people there, which is actually a very good tool to keep you balanced. And or meditation classes. It's good to go to different clubs where with things that you like, because then you will meet people that have some connections with. It's easier to connect regardless of where you come from and your background. If you have something that unifies you, then you'll be more inclined to develop that friendship, because friendships take time, but they're so valuable, and we need to nourish that. I will say that's probably the number one thing, because that, together with positive thinking, and this is often not mentioned, and it goes back to how powerful our minds are and how we create what we manifest. If we are warriors, if you're always being negative, is you're self-sabotaging yourself, which is why it's so important to every time you hear your little racket talking, your little monkey that we have in the head talking, because it is how you've been pre-programmed for the first 6 years of your life, that manifests throughout your life. So how do you control that? Everything that was put on you. But you can do a lot of things. You can have a lot of tools that allow you to ground you. There's a lot of different breathing techniques, different meditation techniques. There are active meditations where you can walk nature. Nature is a beautiful healer. If you're in a desert, the desert holds what is called like a long tide. It's a beautiful vibration rhythm that is palpable, that comes being by the sea, water. If you resonate with water, immersing yourself in water, being near the water is fabulous. Or just nature. I know hugging a tree, some people have been said you're crazy, but actually there's something. There is a life force that runs through the trees, which you also have a life force. You have it's interesting because in science we have managed to create a few organs, but we never managed to create the life force that sparks that organ. So there is something that science doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
What it comes
Yeah.
from, where it goes to, but it's there. And it doesn't matter if you talk or you don't talk, you have it. The earth is grounding. We come from there, we go back to the earth. And it has some electrolytes and electrons that helps to balance the chemical reaction, because the body is depending which doctor you ask, 75 to 85% water, and with it's a bag of fluid with a whole bunch of chemicals. That's all it is, pretty much, and a little bit of collagen. And that's it. That's what we are. And so connecting with nature, these are so important. It helps the neuroplasticity that I've said. Neuroplasticity is basically what keeps our brain. We thought our brain wasn't capable or keep on growing, keep on learning. It's not true. We're capable of keep on learning and growing until the end of our lives. So there's no language that you should not say, oh, I will never be able to learn a language because I'm too old. Take it back. Take it back. You can always do that. You want to learn piano, you can do it. You want to learn a new vocation, you can do it. You want to get into a new job, you can do it. Everything that you put your purpose, consciousness, and focus to it, obviously you need to learn it. You need to spend a certain amount of hours, and some people are easier with some things, but it doesn't matter. There's no limitation.
It's very interesting that you say that, Sylvia, because especially since we have this perspective of living longer, and we know now that we have this plasticity of our brain and we can learn whatever we want at whatever age, it means also that if we want to do all these different things, we don't have to hurry, because this is sometimes how we feel right now, right? We want to play the piano and we want to do stand-up comedian and we want to take care of our children, and then we have to take care of our parents and we want this career. And we try to condense that all in this time frame of 30 years, right? After our studies and before we retire.
Yes.
So that means that basically we can spread those things a lot longer, because we can learn to play the piano when we're 80, right? This
Why
is
not?
how I look at it. A complete different perspective that we do not really deploy in how we are planning and how we are organizing our lives and our aspirations and our dreams. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a very important one. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just learned last month the basics of artificial intelligence, and I thought it was quite I'm
About
talking
that.
to you, Helena.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
we all learn constantly, and challenge is what makes life exciting, is what keeps our cognitive brain, which is the brain that it is engaged, it keeps your rational thinking straight, it keeps you present, it keeps you logic. So if we keep stimulating that, and we need to challenge
Yeah.
it, actually, that's another big key for longevity, for healthy longevity. Challenge yourself. And it doesn't mean you have to put yourself to the border of a cliff, but little challenges stimulate that gray matter that allows for those connections to happen, because you have never been there before, and it needs to, and sometimes it hurts. I remember when I taught myself how to play the piano, and the first week I was crying, this is too hard, I can't do it. And then suddenly, it feels more fluid. So
Something shifts.
it's
Yeah.
the plasticity of the brain, but it takes perseverance. It takes that purpose. The same with the friends. You need to do it within yourself. It's about self-care. Keep challenging
Yeah.
yourself. I feel that the memory is going a little bit. Maybe we need to use the brain a little bit more. And that's a topic that I really want to talk here. Women, at some point in our lives, it doesn't matter how good of a diet you have, what good habits you have, we go through a process, perimenopause and menopause, because it's life. We don't need to be fertile. So there's a lot of different ways of dealing with it. Obviously, HRT is one of them. Research, there's a lot of research about that. I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of things that we can do naturally to enhance our skills and also be kind with ourselves. It's a process. There is an end to that process. We don't have to be on that decline. We won't be on that decline forever. And there's very little information out there, but it's very important to be kind to yourself. So do go and see nutritionists that can help you with the right, or herbalist. They help you. There's a lot of herbs that help from the heat or the or the lack of the brain. Sometimes people get aggression as well. Sometimes I'm going through it, and I'm
Yeah.
self-educating myself because I'm a naturopathic physician, and I found myself being totally erratic, which I've always been very calm throughout my life, to suddenly things really trigger me, or my sleep was being disturbed, or I had different sensations that I never had before. And obviously we have to be careful with that, because if we don't take care of it, it can be a little bit detrimental to our health, because we can collect more body fat in the abdominal area, and in our organs, which is not good. So exercise is fundamental. It helps to manage the symptoms. In truth, it doesn't matter what exercise you do, but if you do walking and a little bit of weight bearing, you're going to see the results. A little bit of high impact really helps, because, and I tell you why, because the moment you do a little bit of high impact, we have in some release neurotransmitters in the brain that give you these chemical reactions that create serotonin, dopamine, all the happy hormones, basically. So what the body is not able to create naturally with the drop of the estrogens, you're creating it naturally. And that helps you to balance up the sensation. The hormones are still changing. The change needs to happen. It's life. And we need to embrace it. Embrace it as another blossom, because at the end of that, this is like going through being a teenager, going through puberty. We go through puberty at 40 and 50. Embrace it. It's marvelous.
I like that. Menopause is the new puberty for women. It's amazing. Yeah.
Out there.
I get what you say. It is hard, but it is about look for help, look for assistance. There's so many people now who can help you. They're like people who can advise you on, like you say, nutrition, but also supplements. There's a lot of basically menopause coaches right now, and there's some very good ones. So you don't have to do this alone. Absolutely. And it's not like it's the end of your life. It's a phase. It's very important to understand that. Yeah, absolutely.
But generally, food-wise, it's important to have high levels of omega-3s that help the brain, they help the transition. It helps for longevity. This is for women and men, but especially women, because we need those oils, for those hormones, for the cascade reaction to work well. So omega-3s are the oily fish, basically, mackerel, anchovies.
Like salmon. Yeah.
Obviously, if you're able to get the organic, even better, or if it's from the wild, even better than organic, if you can get it, because it has less chemicals. And then seeds, if you don't eat animals, seeds are very beneficial and contain a lot of omega-3. So any kinds of seeds, especially pumpkin, hemp seed oil is very good. And we should load ourselves with that. In addition, super greens. So things like kale and broccoli, especially for women and that kind of family, the broccoli family, so that everyone understands, is very good for our brain generally. So this is, again, good for men and women, but particularly for women as we're going through transitions. It helps to keep all the right things in the right place chemically. And then we have, obviously, we need to take care of our sleep. Sleep is very important. That's how we regenerate, and we often forget about it. And water, the water intake. We are a little bag with a bundle of chemicals, so we need to drink water. We forget that we need to drink water.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely. I see some things in the chat here, Sylvia. Just let me look a little bit here. I see Professor Dr. Panos Savos. Welcome here and congratulations on your new society. Unfortunately, we cannot invite you to this conversation. This is preset on a live stream, so we cannot do that. But very interested to dig deeper in what you bring. And Pamela is writing that Pat Duckworth in the US has written several books on menopause and done a lot of work with workplaces. That's a very important one. Workplaces and menopause. That is something that I also see with women that I work with in my coaching practice. I will just show this one so you can see the name, Pat Duckworth. That the impact of menopause on our performance, especially for high achieving and high performing women, is
Well, it's
sometimes
interesting. In
really
Spain,
hard, right?
forgive me, Helena. In Spain, I know they put a law where they allow to. This was told to me. I don't live in Spain, but I don't know if it's in a region of Spain or the whole of Spain. But they did a project, and they actually, I think it was in Madrid, but never mind. The whole point is that they allow women that they didn't feel so well to, whenever they weren't at the optimum, to go home and work from home or do less hours, and they realized that they were way more productive than if they kept them at home when they weren't feeling so well. So productivity but there's a lot of work, and this is a different subject. I deal with that as well. We deal globally with the transition into labor and flexible working hours globally, which is a tricky one into the longevity field. But to be honest, yes, health is the ultimate asset. If we don't have health, we don't have anything else. So if we take care as women of our health, then at least we have the most important thing under control. And then the other things we can do more things about it. If you don't have your health, then it's off to your family, your community, not just yourself that suffer, which is why the emphasis for me, especially for leaders, for women leaders in this group, is very important to not let yourself down, to not get yourself burned, to ask for help when you need to. And there's a lot of support, there's a lot of tools that you can do. And it's fundamental for our well-being, and we can't give out when we're not wholly inside. So we need to have little spaces where we can take a few deep breaths. Even if just a few deep breaths, the body's so grateful for the minimal things that we do for it. Sometimes first thing in the morning before the family's up, or at nighttime, little tips do miracles for our mind and our body.
Yeah, absolutely. You also already mentioned, Sylvia, the positive thinking and mindset. I think that is also a very important one. And one of the things that I do and that I also see with women I work with is that if we can create a strong vision of who we want to be, how we want to show up, what legacy we want to leave in different aspects of our lives, of course, where family and career is an important one. If we have that vision and we can really make that vision take that vision away from what the system is bringing to us and create the vision that is going beyond or pension age or whatever, and just understand that if you have your health, that we can be relevant and that we can add value at whatever age, in whatever way. And I often get this question like, when are you going to stop working? And I say, why would that be something that I consider? As long as I can add value, as long as I can be relevant, I will be what you call working. I don't really call it working, but this is basically probably completely different in 5 or 10 or 15 years than what I'm doing right now. But there are different ways to be relevant and to stay relevant. But if we don't think of that, then how can we start preparing for that? Does that make sense?
Of
Most of the people,
course.
most of the women that are preparing, that are in corporate life, are subconsciously preparing to stop at 65 or 67, depending on the country. And
Mm-hmm.
then what? Then there's nothing organized, and we don't do it. We as entrepreneurs do it because we can do whatever we want, right? Which is not always a benefit, but we can do whatever we want. But in most of the careers, it stops at 65 or 67, or probably it will be even later. But there's nothing organized in that perspective. So you
Yes.
work for large international organizations. What's the view on that? And how can we prepare people to have a positive mindset around that?
Yes, that's a very good question, Helena. Being relevant, what you mentioned before, is fundamental and is one of, and having dignity all the way to the end is another one. And being relevant is something that the moment you're being taking your job away, we're not taught what to do. There is no preparation because the world was set up on the around the late 1800 to basically not live more than 60. So you should be dead by then. But that's not the new reality nowadays. And a lot of
Exactly.
people, even in the international corporate world, I keep hearing more and more. And actually, there's a lot of research about this on middle end of 40s or early 50s, early retirement, and they can't get another job. So they basically, that's it. It's like an early retirement on your 50s. On your 50s, you probably have another 50 years of life. How can you think about not doing nothing? First,
Yeah.
the GDP of your country won't allow that. Second,
Yeah, I
most
mean, the
importantly,
system will
actually,
collapse like this, right,
that's
Sylvia?
it.
Because we cannot maintain this, right?
Yes, we can't maintain that. Second, I would like to think that's the most important thing. You don't want to do that to yourself. We think of retire as just being by the beach for the remaining of our lives, but just like as much as you like spaghetti, you can't have spaghetti every day because you get bored of it. So we like to do things. We just don't know sometimes what we want to do. So go on a path of self-discovery, internal and external. What other skills you have or would like to have that you need to learn? So we're looking globally at upskilling, reskilling. We need to have more education for people for throughout life, not just university level 20 to 30. No, more and more universities need to adapt, more and more different courses that allow you to go into a different profession need to be created. Basically, we need to have more opportunities for people to transition and try different things. So in learning and in labor. And obviously, there is a lot more things that need to transition. Preventative medicine has to be the main goal. We are over, I know in 2020, the World Health Organization said we were 1.2 billion people of the age of 65. We're a lot more now. But by 2050, we're going to be over 2.1 billion people of the age of 65. I can't even think of, and normally we get the numbers not so great because actually with artificial intelligence and the amazing medicine that we have, we are able to last longer. But we don't want to just last longer for the sake of lasting longer. We want to be
Exactly.
relevant.
No. There's a
Relevant is
quality of life,
the
right?
word.
Mm.
So we need to, all these women and men out there, we need to be more entrepreneurial. We need to not be afraid of creating new opportunities. We need to be a little bit more activists within our own countries to support the governments to change the laws on labor, because often we don't have very inclusive laws on labor. If you are on retire on a pension, you get penalized. And we are supporting
Yep.
with the European Union that came up with wonderful positive changes that governments could do, and actually only Holland has done that, which is not penalized, is to benefit. You pay less tax if you're working past your retirement age, and the employer that hires you also pays less. So there's benefit for everyone, right? And you don't get penalized. So that should be one option that is ideal for everyone. And we should have opportunities. So we need to create more flexible marketplace, which doesn't exist. We don't have a marketplace where we can choose where to work. Okay, I want to do a few hours here. I'm good in education and health. I would like to provide. That doesn't exist. So we created a platform, by the way, with longevity, but it's not out there in the market because the law and the policies make it pretty impossible. But it's one of is a solution, is one solution. We're working on that globally to make more opportunities. So in the meantime, women, it doesn't matter if you were taking care of your kids or taking care of someone, or you didn't have an opportunity to work early in your life and suddenly you're 40 and 50s and you want to work, go for it. Find the space. Yes, find the space wherever that might be. Don't be shy to go for it, because we need people with experience. We need people, and actually research shows that as we are aging, there are some things that might be less our strength, but there is something that is very strong as we're aging. We're very good at solving problems because our experience makes us the experts of risk as we're aging. Again, you're having to maneuver a lot of things in life. What is a real risk? What is a little bit less of a risk as we're aging? So that becomes really good. We're very good managerial. We're good at in high position, high level position. So we shouldn't be afraid to go for it and embrace it and never think, I even said it before, oh, I wasn't good enough. You're right. No, we are all remarkable. We all have the capacity to be remarkable at anything that we do. And it's especially women more than men. Unfortunately, we have this inner little nomad that constantly, that keeps telling us, you're not good enough, until you're like 90 out of 100, you don't even apply for that job. There was some research about that. It was quite interesting.
There's a lot of research about that. Absolutely. Something I also would like to bring up, Sylvia, is the intergenerational thing. And there's already a lot written and said about intergenerational, and I guess it's something of all times where it appears to be very difficult for the older generations to work together with the younger ones. They don't understand each other. They speak a different language, etc., etc. So if we talk about longevity, we add 2 or 3 more generations into that equation. I don't believe in a systemic intergenerational conflict. I don't believe in that. Once again, for me, this is mindset, and this is about how we look at things, and we can reframe this. But how do you see that, and how do the supranational institutions see this as, I would say, a benefit to discover and to explore?
Yes, intergeneration in the UN has created a group to build these bridges is key. And it is key because it's not that we talk different languages, it's that we need to talk to each other. We have so much in common. The youth basically blames the seniors for the whole climate change, what happens. But we want to work, and we're not giving the chance to be back into the field and give back these entrepreneurial skills and opportunities to the youth, because banks, the financial sector, doesn't allow us to get a loan the moment that you're 60. You might own millions of houses. They don't care. So we want to be part of that. We need to be relevant. The more we are relevant, the more we are able to. And actually, there are some institutions that are very much focusing on that, on the need of intergenerational bridges is key. There are some skills that are better as you're younger. You might have a lot more energy, maybe, or maybe as we're aging, sometimes you might get to the conclusion of something taking a little bit more time, but that doesn't mean that we're not very capable. We are very capable. And having different experience versus the momentum of that youth brings a lot of spark and power brain. More and more startups, more and more, there's a whole bunch of technological tools that have been created that the seniors are saying, we need this with the help of the youth and the knowledge. And that's the future. We need to work together to have a world that it creates a blending of those needs, because you might have someone that is 20-year-old and is absolutely magnificent with technology, but doesn't have the experience or knowledge to know how a population that are 40, 50, and 60 feel. You need to talk to them. You need to look at all the different variables. You need to analyze that risk. And so this is where beautiful technological tools, wearables, etc., are being created in this theme and topic of longevity that will have a great impact, not just for the seniors, for the youth. We have wearables that are able to tell you if your heart is going off limits, and that's beneficial for a 20-year-old as much as is for an 80-year-old. So again, the youth needs to think that education is not anymore how it was. It's not anymore, it's what you said before, Helena. It's not anymore study for 30 years, work for 30 years and retired. They need to think how a 60 or 70-year-old person will think. What do I need to do to have quality of life throughout my life and be relevant? They need to plan. They need to make friends. They need to make long-lasting friends. They need to think about and actually what I love about this subject is that with all the geopolitical issues that are happening globally, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter your social, economical, doesn't matter your ethnicity, it brings us all together. Aging and longevity brings us together. We all want to have a fulfilled and relevant life through our lives. And intergenerations are key to that on all the different projects, medicine, the healthcare, the economics of it, and the social aspects.
I think it would take us too far to go very deep into this, but basically, we are at the merge of completely redefining the system, because the system as it has been for the last, I would say, 100 years, that was based on, like you already mentioned, like basically what was needed in the Industrial Revolution or the industrial society, and where we had like a life expectation of 60. This has completely shifted, and yet we still behave in our daily practices and in how we look at things as it is still the case. And it's not. So this new paradigm, I'm really wondering what is needed in order to bring that understanding with everybody and create like a common playing field where everybody can explore and experiment. And it's very good to hear you talk about these initiatives of the EU and UN, because if you look at local politics, there's a lot of room for improvement. And I believe that we as individuals can co-create also solutions and can connect and join. Like you say, community is one of the elements that we need in order to live happy lives and to live long lives. To use that in order to start co-creating grassroots initiatives and educate people about what it is to have this amazing possibility to live 100 years and maybe longer in a couple of generations, what it is and how it can be. Because it feels like most of us don't have a clue what it looks like. And we're still in that system of
Yes.
studying, working, retiring. And
Yes.
I meet a lot of people online also in order to explore collaboration and co-creation projects. And sometimes I'm so happy and excited meeting women. There's this amazing coach also in Madrid. She's 78 and she's vibrant and enthusiastic and takes initiatives and she's creative. And I say, I'm a fan. This is basically what I love to see, to stay relevant and to add value and to support and to serve people. Maybe that's also a key. Serving. Have this
Serving.
service mindset.
I think to be selfless, to have integrity, to have the right ethics that allows you the capacity to want to serve. Yes, because it's not just for your own
Yeah,
benefit, it's for the benefit of others. And I do believe
exactly.
there is, with everything that you have said, there is a word very important here that will take away a lot of the issues that we have in globally, which is ageism. If we take away ageism from society, we wouldn't be living how we're living right now. The current narrative needs to be changed. It does not work. We need to change the paradigm. And the paradigm is being stopped because of the ageist behavior. The ageist behavior works for youth and works for seniors. Yes. It's just we are set on one way of living that has worked before, but it doesn't work anymore. We know the numbers don't add on any aspect, economical, social, and healthcare. So if we don't adapt, there's not a very nice future, but we are adapting. And just like you mentioned in the Industrial Revolution, we thought, oh my God, what is going to happen? The machines are going to take over. We'll have no jobs. When there is a
Same now
huge
with AI, right?
crisis, yes, when there's a huge crisis, humankind is when it comes out really at its best. And we need to be against the wall and not being able to move to suddenly become ultra creative and think out of the box. And that's what we did. and it benefited us. And I believe exactly the same with artificial intelligence. We will hopefully make the most of it. We'll put the heart back into artificial intelligence to serve us so that our lives, north and south hemisphere of the earth, benefit from it. So it's not just a handful of people, but it's everyone in the world will benefit from it. And I believe that one person can make a difference. So everyone here can make a difference. Again,
Yeah.
it's not about, we are all remarkable, basically. We are all remarkable. We can all have an impact into our society. So all you need to want is to do it and to become involved and to do something about it. And that is a key for a quality, relevant, aging society, no matter your age.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say find role models and if possible, be a role model. You are a role model anyway, because your children are looking at you, your friends, your teams, whoever, so you are. But find people who have this way of living that is really inspiring you and that is out of the box, and go for research. Sylvia, I mean, there's a lot of research available. I guess people can also connect with you and get research and tools and strategies in order to develop a different vision on their lives
Of course,
based on a 100
absolutely.
years year span, right? Yeah. So where can people connect with you and how? What is the easiest way?
The easiest way is via email. So Silvia.Neira. Shall I write it in the chat?
Oh, you can write it. Yes, I will make sure it's also is in the show notes and in the comments,
Okay.
because probably, or if you can write it in the private chat, and I will copy it, and it will go to all the comment boxes of all the channels that we are
Silvia,
streaming right now.
yes, dot Neira arroba gialongevity.org. And I
Wonderful,
always answer everyone.
beautiful. And what is it that people can find on your website eventually, or where they can go?
gialongevity.org is the website of the institution, the foundation that I work for. All the information on the projects that we are developing, the work that we're doing, all the different initiatives, and it's hardly anything compared to everything that needs to be done, because we need support from all of you guys. We need, this is not a one showman to make a change and to become innovative into everything that needs to be done in the world to make it a purposeful, productive, relevant longevity. We all have a say on this. We can all do something about this. So do reach out, please. I would love to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. Sylvia, what is like the best advice that you ever got in terms of longevity that say, yeah, that really changed something for me, and that we can maybe also use to to do some mindset shifting for our audience?
Oh, unfortunately, there's no one, but I do think the epigenetic ones and the quantum physics point that I mentioned before, you are who you want to be. You are a result of your experience, is probably the most powerful one. So stay positive.
Yeah.
Stay
Yeah.
positive, because that you will manifest that into your life.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Sylvia. This was way too short to bring everything that we wanted to bring about longevity and to have this 100-year span. There's so many elements that are impacting and impacted this new situation. And I invite everybody to go a little bit deeper, to connect with Sylvia, to see how you can develop a vision on that. As a coach, I'm also helping on defining that vision in the different aspects of your lives, because this is something that we did not really touch as clear, but it has an impact on all the aspects of our lives: professional, relational, family. There's so many elements that this is impacting. So dig a little bit deeper, find allies, see what you can do, if you can take your own initiatives. And Sylvia has a lot of information available. So connect with Sylvia also if you want to find out more. We make sure that everything is also in the show notes and in the comments. Thank you for being here. We hope to produce these Power Talks for another 100 years, and that you are listening for a long time. We will add value and stay relevant. Thank you so much.